My name is Nathan Kwan, and today we will be talking about the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. My presentation will cover what happened during this earthquake, the intensity of it, why the earthquake was so deadly, and the effects it had on seismology. So, for some background information, the 1906 earthquake occurred on the morning of April 18, 1906. It was one of the deadliest earthquakes ever recorded and killed over 3,000 people. The earthquake destroyed nearly the entire city of San Francisco and also started a large fire that burned the city. It would not be until 9 years later in 1915 before the city was fully rebuilt. The 1906 earthquake had a very high intensity. The earthquake measured around 7.7 to 7.9 on the Richter scale. The rupture on the fault line that caused the earthquake was over 296 miles long. For comparison, the Loma Prieta earthquake of 1989 only had a fault rupture of only 25 miles long. From this comparison, we can see that the 1906 earthquake was one of the most intense earthquakes ever recorded. The reason the earthquake was so deadly was because of where the city of San Francisco lies. The city is located on what is known as the San Andreas Fault Line. The entire San Francisco region is highly prone to earthquakes. There are at least 6 active fault lines that run throughout the city. The San Andreas Fault is known as a strike-slip fault. This type of fault is where two tectonic plates slide past one another. The entire area has a lot of seismic activity due to the fact that it is part of the Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire is a chain of tectonic boundaries that surround the Pacific Ocean. It stretches from South America, North America, and into Asia. It actually goes down as far as Australia. The picture on the bottom here illustrates which areas is covered by the Ring of Fire. Predicting earthquakes. So earthquake predictions, there are actually several countries that are already doing this. Countries such as Japan, which is highly prone to earthquakes, already has seismic sensors installed that can detect P waves, also known as primary waves. These are the first waves in an earthquake to hit an area, and they are followed by the more powerful S waves. However, this kind of warning system only gives about 10 to 12 seconds of time to prepare. This is nowhere near the amount of time to issue warnings or conduct evacuations. Earthquake predictions have always been unreliable and is nearly impossible. However, seismologists are able to predict whether an earthquake is likely or not to happen based on past history. This, however, does not allow them to predict it with accuracy. In the case of the 1906 earthquake, there were actually talks of a major quake happening, but it largely went ignored. The 1906 earthquake had a huge impact on seismology. It actually led to several breakthroughs. One example is the elastic rebound theory that was proposed by Harry Fielding Reid. The theory talks about how energy is released during an earthquake. Reid discovered this when studying the displacement of the ground along the San Andreas Fault Line 50 years before the 1906 earthquake, and he discovered that the ground was bending up to 3.2 meters prior to the earthquake. The earthquake had a huge impact on society. People began to take earthquakes more seriously after this. There was just so much devastation in this earthquake that many people became more aware of it now, and they were able to see the dangers of this kind of major earthquake. Building codes were updated after structures to make structures more resilient to earthquakes. In fact, many buildings in San Francisco are built to withstand earthquakes, such as the Transamerica building. That is the big triangle building that we see in San Francisco. As I stated before, prior to the 1906 earthquake, seismologists did warn city officials that a major quake was likely to happen. However, nobody really took them seriously. The earthquake actually led to major changes in attitudes towards earthquakes after people saw how deadly it was. So to sum it all up, the 1906 earthquake was one of the most famous earthquakes to ever happen. There was actually some movies made on it, actually. The damage to the city of San Francisco costed around $400 million to rebuild, and that's equivalent to around $9.23 billion today. The most important thing that came out of this earthquake, though, was that it led to the fault lines such as the San Andreas being monitored on a far larger scale. It also led to further research to understand how fault lines work and where future earthquakes could occur. Overall, the 1906 earthquake was one of the biggest influence on seismology and how we view earthquakes today. And here is a list of my references.